This gun that you see before you is the Sig Mosquito. Now, it's a great alternative to a lot of traditional pistols out there just simply because it's a 22. That's right. This pistol you see before you is a 22. Now, if you're looking into the Sig Mosquito, you say, oh, okay, I already know that, but, you know, just putting in there for people who don't know. And today I'm just going to give you my opinion on the gun and, you know, some advantages, disadvantages of it, and how I feel about, you know, whether I recommend you buying one or not. Well, to get started, we'll take a look at the track record of this gun and some of the different features of it. First of all, it obviously, as I said, isn't a 22 caliber, which makes it cheap to shoot, but it doesn't have the best track record in the world. It tends to be picky with ammo. You'll hear a lot of people complain with that. And it truly is an individual as a gun. I mean, every SIG is going to shoot a little differently. It's awkward to say, but it's true. This is actually my second one. The first one I had went back to SIG. I got about 1,000 rounds through it, and it started to not go off on me. I would pull the trigger, and nothing would happen. And I'd be like, well, what the heck? And, you know, it would go from single action to double action, and I'd be like, what the heck? So I'd pull the trigger again, boom, and go off. So I was getting light strikes, and it was happening all the time. And it steadily got worse and worse, to the point where even after pulling the double action, it sometimes wouldn't go off, and I'd eject the shell and take a look at it and see that it was hitting it, but not very hard, and it was actually hitting it off of center. You know, it hits it on the side, from the edge to the center. It was hitting it way off at the very edge. So I sent it back to SIG, and it was one just like this, a two-tone model with the stainless steel slide, and I got a response back from them once they got it and checked it out, saying, well, we don't know exactly what's wrong with it, so we're just going to send you a new one. So they sent me this one. So far, through this individual gun, I've had maybe probably about 3,000, 4,000 rounds through it, somewhere in that area. And it hasn't been 100% for me. It hasn't been 100% reliable. But I've noticed it depends a lot on the ammunition you put through it. This one shoots great with, you know, the CCI mini-mags like it says, but it also shoots great with the Remington Golden Bullets, which is probably the worst 22 ammo in the world. The advantages of that ammo is it's pretty high-powered, which is why it cycles in this. This gun likes high-powered ammunition. That's why the mini-mags work so well. If you try to shoot the value, most of the value-packed stuff out of it, it's not powerful enough to cycle it sometimes. So it'll shoot the Remington Golden Bullets, but I don't know if it's the brass being cheap or what it is, but I will actually have some of the bullets where the shell casings will actually crack inside the chamber and get stuck, and I will have to literally take the gun apart and take something that's very sharp on the edge, like a nail file or a very fine screwdriver, and pry the 22 casing out of there, and it'll be cracked all the way down the side of the casing. So, although that ammunition works in it, and it's super cheap, it isn't really the best stuff in the world. But yeah, as I said, I've put probably about 3,000 to 4,000 rounds through it, and in fact this thing needs cleaning. It had about 250 through it without cleaning it. I don't know if you can really see anything on there, but it is a little dirty. So getting to some of the size and weight points. Let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. With the magazine in it, it is a weight of 24.6 ounces, which isn't horrible. I mean, for a 22, it's nice because it has a little bit of heft and it has that real feel to it, which is nice. It literally feels like a full-size gun for the most part. Maybe a little bit on the small side, but it's, I think, as close as you can get to a real full-size pistol without actually having a real full-size pistol, you know, like a 9mm, 40, 45, etc. The average barrel length is 3.9 inches. This varies with other models. As I'll talk about in a minute, they've come out with a whole bunch of new models for these. Overall length is 7.2 inches. Overall height is 5.3. It does have a single action, double action trigger. So, trigger and hammer. So, for example, you know, you can do the traditional cocking to cock the hammer, it'll fire, or you can have it uncocked and it'll still fire. So, that's kind of nice. I think just single action is a pain, because then you have to worry about cocking it, which if you're in a tactical situation and you're being safe about it and you don't have it cocked, that's not a good thing, because you usually don't have time to cock it. Also, double action can sometimes be a pain because you have a much larger trigger pull. You know, a lot more pounds to pull that trigger back, and that, you know, can ruin your accuracy. Variations. There's quite a few different variations. When I purchased this one, there were only like 4 or 5 different variations. Now there is, you know, 11. This model right here is a 2-tone with got the polymer lower and the stainless slide. They come in an all black with just a matte black finish. They come in a matte black with a threaded barrel. They come in a reverse 2-tone, which is a stainless steel lower and a matte black finish slide. They also come in pink, digital desert camo with a threaded barrel. They come in flat dark earth and flat dark earth with a threaded barrel. They come in OD green with threaded barrel, and one interesting one that I'd like to see is they have a carbon fiber model too, which you're going to pay about $50 more for. Kind of interesting stuff. Threaded barrel, in case you don't know, is to put a suppressor on it. This is not a threaded barrel. This is just a standard barrel. And a lot of people will say, well, let's say I buy this because I don't want to pay extra right now for the threaded barrel, but I decide later I want to buy a threaded barrel for it. Well, can I put one on there? The answer is yes, you can. The barrel is removable with, I think it's this screw and this pin, if I'm not mistaken. If you can see that pinhole right there in that screw. I think this one's for the trigger. I think it's these 2 screws right here, or the screw and the pin, and you can drop the barrel out. Now, as far as getting a hold of the barrel that's threaded just by itself, that's a little bit more of a challenge, and you're going to pay more for it. I don't know if they are available right now, but for a long time, they were not available from Sig. You could not get just the barrels from Sig. However, there is a company out there called Gemtech, and they make the threaded barrels for the Sig Mosquitoes as well as the suppressors. So that's kind of cool, and I think those run about $150, $155, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So again, you're paying over 1/4 of the price for the gun for a new barrel, which you're better off buying it with the gun if you want it. But I didn't really have a need for it because I can't exactly afford a suppressor right now anyway, so I didn't get one. Ergonomics. It's a pretty nice gun as far as that's concerned. It's got the same feel as a Sig P226. In case you don't know, this is literally 90% scale size of the 226. It's designed completely off of that gun. So it's got a lot of the same feel. It's very good in the hand. Ergonomic operation features. For example, your slide lock back, and is right here, your slide release. Very easy. You know, some of the Glocks, it's tilted, like you can see this lever here, which I'll explain in a second, is not real easy to get to. It's flat. Your finger slips over it really easy. Where this one is actually kind of out a little bit, so it's easier to hit with your thumb. So it makes it very easy to operate. Way better than the Glock. I've dealt with a Glock 40, and you know, it's hard to hit that thing. This, boom, piece of cake. Just super easy to do. This right here is, all SIGs have this. It's kind of their trademark. It's a nice decocking hammer, or decocking lever. So all you do is you press that down until you hear it click, and then boom, it decocks it without having to worry about a round going off. Now this you see right here, this is for takedown. I'll explain that in a minute. As far as the accuracy and firepower is concerned, it is a pretty accurate gun. I am not the best pistol shot in the world, I'll tell you that right now. I am not steady-handed. So, I'm not probably the best person to rate the accuracy on this thing, and I have not bench shot it. So I really can't tell you. But what I can tell you is when I'm on with it, I'm on with it. It can shoot. It's as good as a shooter can be. It's a pretty darn accurate gun. I mean, it's not going to be as accurate as like if you have a 7-inch, you know, single-action revolver 22. It's not going to be that accurate, but as far as accuracy is concerned, it's pretty darn accurate. Firepower, it has a 10-round magazine. Okay, these magazines are expensive from SIG. You pay dearly for them. They have some aftermarket ones that are like polymer. This is actually metal. Yeah, I've heard some bad things about them. But as far as this magazine is concerned, very nice. The spring has a I guess you'd call it some kind of push button release thing. When you push the spring down, you push in this button down at the bottom here, you can actually lock the spring down and load your rounds that way instead of having to fight the spring tension. That's really nice. I like that a lot. And then when you're done loading it, you just press it on the other side, and boom, it'll set itself so you can fire it. Pretty nice. I really like that. But yeah, again, there you know, you have to deal with the cost. I want to say they're about $35, $40 for a freaking 22 magazine. A lot of money. And 10 rounds only, unfortunately. But hey, maybe someday they'll come out with an extended magazine, but I have yet to see that. Field stripping and cleaning of this thing. Well, it's relatively easy. All you're going to do is take this lever, rotate it 180 degrees, like so, pull back on the slide, take the magazine out, and then lift up. Lift up a little bit, let it go forward, and it's all going to come apart. So you're going to have your slide, you're going to have your spring guide rod, and you're going to have your lower with the barrel. Now, the barrel does not come free of the gun. It's easier to do with the 22. It have to fix a barrel on it. Not really that big of a deal. There's a couple key parts you're going to want to, you know, lubricate. One is, obviously, you're going to lubricate the barrel. It comes with some TB, what is it called? TB25. Or, excuse me, TW25B. This is the stuff that it comes with, if I can get it to focus. It's just a regular lubricant that they give you and they recommend you using. Another one, a good one, is Slide Glide Light. Is a good lubricant. Or, it's actually not quite a lubricant, but it works really well. I've heard. I haven't personally used it yet. We'll see. But you want to make sure you coat the oil good, or coat the barrel good, excuse me. And you're going to hit these two knobs right, or these two shelves right here on the side where the slide fits into place. You can see how the bottom of the slide goes in there. You're going to want to lubricate these really good, okay? Because those are critical wear points right there. And you can see how it wears along the slide, or on the side here and here. On the slide here, there's a couple places you want to lubricate. Mainly, it's this right here. This is the shelf where the hammer is cocked against. So when the thing goes back, this is what cocks the hammer. Is it hitting at this right here? You're going to want to lubricate that because you're going to notice some wear going on there. You actually see where the hammer has been rubbing here. So you don't want to lubricate that. You don't want to lubricate too much, but you want to lubricate in these grooves too. A little bit. You can see some in there. Some of that white material. But yeah, you can see that there's some wear marks in here. This thing's been put through the paces a couple times here. Now another thing, when you get the gun, it's going to have some additional stuff with it, and you might go, what the heck, what's this? Well, let me get it together and I'll show you a little bit more information on it. Here, just give me just a sec here. Trying to do this with one hand. Very easy to put back together. Just put the recoil spring and guide rod back into place down there. And you're going to take the slide. See if I can do this one-handed here. Like so. Don't want to rock it back. Just the opposite when you put it together until you feel it be able to sit down. Then you want to keep pressure down and you want to let it go forward. Okay. Before you pull it back again, make sure you rotate this 180 degrees to lock it in place. Now the thing's locked in place. Now it should be free moving and shouldn't lift up. Should be on there nice and tight. Okay? So, that's that. When you get it, it's going to come with a couple things. It's going to come with 2 extra front sight bases here. This is a tool for working with, and we're not going to worry about it, but you can read up on it in the manual. This is an extra tool. They give you something you probably will never have to mess with, so don't even worry about it. I'm not going to waste time on it. But this is key. It comes with an extra recoil spring. And a lot of people say, oh, it's a spare. No, it's not technically a spare. It's actually different. And one should be labeled white, and one should be like this clear color you see here, or just metal color. I can't remember off the top of my head which is which, but your manual says it. One spring is for your lighter loads. Okay, so it's going to have a little bit less tension or strength to it. So if you're shooting value pack ammunition and you want to pray that it actually cycles, that's what you're going to have to use, is a lighter spring. And I believe the lighter spring is what usually comes installed on the guns. Now, can you shoot the lighter spring with like CCI mini mags? Yeah, you can. It'll work. But I've had some situations with that. You get some really charged ammunition and you're shooting the light spring, it can pop open too fast on you and then you get huge fire blowback in your face. That ain't fun. I've had that happen probably 4 or 5 times. It just this giant fireball coming out of the action, the thing just smokes like crazy. It's not cool. You didn't have, I got peppered in the face. It's not fun. So if you're going to shoot CCI mini mags, make sure you use the strong spring. That's a lesson for you. So the gun is kind of finicky. Durability. Well, I think I've kind of covered that. Considering how many rounds I have through it and how little wear it has and how well this one stood up, it's done pretty well. Now, some people say with these, they're kind of hit or miss. For me personally, I found that to be true. You know, you might get one that it'll shoot everything, which some people do. They say, oh, mine cycles whatever. Federal value pack, you know, CCIs, doesn't matter. It cycles it. Stingers, doesn't matter. And to some extent, I can believe that, because my first one wouldn't cycle anything but the expensive stuff. And this one shoots even a little bit differently. So it depends on the gun. You have to find what ammo works good in your gun, and you have to go with it. Now, it's kind of a pain, but it's just the way it is. Now, depending on which type of gun you get, the general price is about $400. You know, you can usually find them for close to $400. Now, for threaded barrel one, or if you get, you know, like the carbon fiber one or something like that, or the Sport, which has an extended barrel on it and has like this extra piece on the bottom that makes it look like a full size, you know, long barrel, like 5-inch barrel Sig, you're going to pay a little bit more. I think the carbon fiber one is $169, is the MSRP. or MRSRP, whatever it is. You pay about $469 for it. But this one, you know, you're looking at about $400, a little over for the stainless. You know, the traditional black finish one, you're gonna maybe be able to pick it up for a little bit less. You know, some of them you can pick up for, you know, $350, $360. So that's kind of nice. The sights, you know, for an additional point are, excuse me, bump the camera. The sights are okay. They're not great. You can kind of see in the camera picture there, you got a lot of space between there. So it does have a lot of play in it, which isn't good. But on a 22, you know, it's a training handgun. If you can, you know, you're not exactly concerned about being super precise with it. It's a 22. It's fun. It's a fun gun. It's not a bet your life on a gun anyway. But they're decent. At least they have the yellow dots here, make it easily visible. They're not night sights. Don't get that confused. They're not technically night sights. They're just little orange dots, or excuse me, yellow. They're just little yellow dots. This is adjustable. The rear sight is adjustable, left to right for windage, and you know, you have 3 different size front sight posts for elevation. Usually they shoot them at the factory, and they put in the one that works best with the gun. Mine was just a little bit high. I put the medium one on there because they had the highest one on there, and that seems to be closer to 0 for me. But the first one I had, dead on. Didn't need to adjust the sights at all. It was just perfect the way it was, because they do shoot them at the factory. So they do at least do some testing on them. Yeah, I think that's just about it that I can say for it. It's you know, would I recommend one to you, considering the price and how good Sig was about returning the other one? I mean, think about it. They gave me a second gun basically free. They said, okay, this was our screw up. Here you go. They didn't even ask me any questions about if I had done anything to it. They just said, okay, well, we'll send you a new one. If they hadn't done something like that, I would have said, don't get it. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. But considering, you know, they've gotten a little bit better than they used to be as far as the guns are concerned. They're a little bit more reliable than the first ones that came out. And the fact that Sig is great with customer service, I would say it's a good gun. I mean, the Walther P22 is a good gun too. Heard just as many complaints about it, but it's besides the point. It is a little bit bigger than the P22. It is closer to a full-size handgun, which is why I went with this over the Walther P22. So I would recommend it. Just be cautious and know what you're getting into before you do it. If, you know, this is too much of a concern, risk for you, go with something else. You know, there's plenty of 22 handguns out there. The Ruger has the Mark II and the Mark III. Go with one of those if you're that concerned about it. Those aren't exactly a tactical style pistol, but hey, if you're just plinking around with it and you want a little more accuracy, go with that. Otherwise, you know, Browning has their new 1911 22. Walther has their P22. Sig has a 1911 22 as well now. And, of course, the Mosquito. So you can find plenty of 22s. I think CZ has one too. There's plenty out there. But, you know, if you want a cheap Sig that has the name on it, it says made in Germany, here you go. That's the way to do it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I hope you like this video.